And so it was nice having that perspective growing up. And then I've also got a cousin who's black, and I remember when we were 7, she told me, she was like, "Man, I wish I was your color." And that was the first time when I was like, "You what? Like, why would you wish that?" But she grew up in Kentucky around mostly white people in super classically Christian and conservative areas, and she just like felt like an outsider. And I remember like being 7 and being like, "Oh, dang." I Because mostly kids don't see color. Kids just want to play with each other. Right. That's wild. Uh huh. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Right. Sure. I don't know. My but my cousin who said she wished she was white when I was a kid. She's actually now a cop. Uh, what did I say? Um, Something like that. I don't know. Damn. Bro, if you think of it, text me. It might, because it might come in like an hour or two, or like tomorrow. If you think of it, just text me because I want to know. And you start to believe that. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Hmm. Gotcha. Yeah. Right. Right, right. Yeah, for sure. No, you're totally right there. Yeah, I was very grateful because my dad went to a forced mixed school. Um, like I grew up with like half my dad's friends being black, and they were black from the suburbs, and so like they just they were just midwestern traits. Um, and as a kid, I just like didn't even think anything of it because oh, these are the people who I hang out with. These are the people who I'm around. I didn't even realize until much later. Well, it's just like anything. Like if if you go like from the Midwest, like white people in the Midwest versus like white people in Canada, like Quebec, or like white people in Florida, like they're different culturally. So like I don't like I don't relate to certain white people. I'm sure you don't relate to certain black people. Like it's just so much of it is the culture you grew up in and just like personality. Um, mhm. That's disgusting. But sure. Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. Of course. Sure. Mhm. It's like what? Via noose on a like lynch style, like that's wild. Oh, for sure, for sure. Right, right, right. Well, I mean, I guess that's good. But I mean, look, I so the school I went to in Upper Arlington, that's it's like known for being like snobby and uppity. Um, and it's like mostly white. I mean, same things, probably like 1% black. You know, there was like a couple kids in each grade. You know what I'm saying? Um, right, exactly, pretty much, maybe less. And and my graduating class was like 430, so like that's pretty on it. Um, but one of the things that happens, and I'm sure you know it, but you've probably never had someone like say it, and maybe I'm wrong, but like when it's just a bunch of white people, and this is like not a dig or me being racist against white people, but like race jokes just fucking fly because there's no one negative or there's no one that is negatively because it's all a bunch of white people calling each other the N word to each other all the time. And it's not until like someone overhears that's not supposed to that you're like, oh, and then you catch yourself like, oh wait, if I'm afraid of getting caught saying something, like it's probably a bad thing. But like you don't really think anything of it because that those are the jokes that everyone makes, and it's just like, oh, and there's no negative consequences because there's no black people around to get offended by all these white people saying the N word and saying all this racist shit all the time. Um, and then basically you have to grow up out of that because all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, I'm an adult. But it was wild. I mean, right, right. Well, and I think also a lot of it is like a lot of times I thought people were joking, and until I had an experience in eighth grade where one of my friends like was making some black jokes and we were laughing and blah blah blah, and and I'm pretty like in general as far as humor goes, like I think everyone's fair game as long, but you have to be able to joke at yourself. But he was making a black joke, and we're like 13, and then he's like, yeah, I'm a racist, and I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, he's like, I'm a racist. He's like, that might be a bad thing, but at least I'll be safe. And I was like, what? This was like one of the yes, yeah, that was what he was implying. And I was like, dude, I still thought he was joking. I just couldn't believe that someone would say that sort of thing and also mean it. But no, he totally meant it, and he got that stuff from his parents. Um, and that was like one of the first times I realized I was like, oh, maybe some of the people saying this stuff aren't kidding. Right. Yep. Right. Right. Yeah. It's just a learned behavior. Right. And you have no context. And so like, right. 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 Yep. Yeah. 100%. Mm. This is what your lot is in life, and that's just how it's going to be. The lucky thing is, Chuck, about you is that that's just not you. Like you're not going to take that, but there's going to be some people who hear that and accept that, and that's the real tragedy, I feel like. Hopefully. Right. Right, because this is how it is. This is the way. That's just how it is, baby. Spread them. Right. Nah, it's Chuck. He's cool. He's cool. He won't mind. Mm. Oh yeah, for sure. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, geez, that's a good point. Unprovoked. Like what happens when something else is going down? Right. 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 Well, I mean, well, that's right. Well, I mean, bruh, he revealed that about himself, but what's cool about what you said, uh, like off the rip just then was like that is the actual American dream, right? Is like regardless regardless of your background and your color, you if you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to do this, then you can achieve anything. And that's like that's uh, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. Right. Well, yes, and that's the thing is like the promise put forth in the declaration has been a work in progress to actually fulfill. It wasn't. They yeah, well, I mean, so I actually read a book where that was like it was brought up and they were like, "Nah, it's we're not ready for that." And that they literally uh-huh. Hmm. I don't know what I mean, you have to acknowledge that it existed. Um, I mean, otherwise well, it goes back to what we talked about in the pod. You have to be able to first acknowledge. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's like mhm. Right, right, and that's where all that anxiety and shit comes from. And so that's why, like, whenever I think about like stuff like the founding documents or like the Declaration of Independence or something like that, it's like that to me is the ideal to live up to. Obviously, obviously, what like I mean, George Washington was a slave owner from Virginia. That's not to say that he didn't do all these awesome, cool battles. Right. Well, two things can be true. George Washington can be the main reason that America was founded, and in general, America I think has been a good thing. But George Washington was also a slave owner, and who didn't have all the answers. And so when I think about like we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that's something we have to strive for. That's the ideal. It's to make it so that there is the equal opportunity, and you have to acknowledge that. I mean, granted, all countries, all governments go corrupt and and that sort of thing. So like, um, I think it's important to acknowledge that like to always be careful of government tyrannizing its citizens. But at the end of the day, like we have to acknowledge where we came from in terms of the blemishes, um, because mhm, sure, to acknowledge them. Hmm. Well, for sure. And you can also spin it this way. So my both my grandparents, both my grandfathers were World War II veterans. My dad's was a paratrooper, and on the night before D-Day, when the Allied forces stormed the beach of Normandy, my grandfather jumped from a plane into Nazi-occupied France, where there were real ass Nazis with real ass machine guns, and then proceeded to, I'm assuming, shoot and kill, other, kill Nazis, and fight this crazy battle in another country. So because my grandfather has the blood of heroes running through him and killed Nazis in real life, I'm just good to coast because the blood of heroes runs through my veins and I'm okay. It's like, no, I don't get to coast on anyone's accomplishments, just like, um, just like I don't bear the sins of my forefathers, but I do have to acknowledge both. I am not great because my grandpa's great, and I'm also not bad because he was bad. I have to be good on my own. Hmm. Hmm. Right. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yes. Right. For sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know what's crazy? So I have this book called The March on Washington, which is about the movement leading up to the March on Washington with MLK and As I Have a Dream speech, that sort of thing. And in in defense of the point you just made, there were there were black people in World War II who were trying to advocate for their right to fight for the country because the United States wouldn't let them fight. And they're like, absolutely not. We're going to prove how much we believe in the American dream by asking to go fight in World War II. And so, I mean, to me, that's like the pinnacle of patriotism. You have an oppressed minority who wants the American dream so bad, they're like, okay, I'll go fight your war. And when I come back, I better be treated like an American. And, you know, mm, hmm, right. Oh, I mean, they were all like, I mean, if you think about Thomas Jefferson, he was just hyper educated, knew Greek, like more educated than most people are nowadays, because he actually studied the ancient classics of Greek and that sort of thing. Hmm. Yeah, that's why they left. They were persecuted and left. Yeah, sure. I guess in their defense, that's all it had been for all of history. Like there was, yeah, no one had any rights. That rights didn't exist until, well, I don't know when, but recently there were no one had any rights. Yeah, baby, bro. Do you know who Graham Hancock is? Yeah, yeah. So he studies a lot of like the ancient uh, cultures of the world. And to the point you were just making, there are some sculptures in South America that look to be of African, like of African people. And he got in trouble for making that distinction. And he was like, he's like, I'm not racist, and I'm not trying to diminish the culture that was there. He's like, I'm just saying this looks African, and, and it's old as hell, and it's older than everything else that is here. Yeah, dude, I love that shit. Oh yeah. Mm, mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's cool. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. So, oh, yeah, I mean, I think with all things, there's always going to be a certain amount of mystery and lies that things are built on because history is just the truth that we agree to tell about the past. Yeah. Right, for sure. So, I mean, all of history is going to be muddled. Um, at the end of the day, I think it's just important to strive. Like that American dream that was promised was definitely a lie put forth by the government. But I think I think the ideal is still something to strive for. And I think when people freak out about the government, it's like in the ideal, not to say that we're there, it's like the American government is the government by the people for the people, and that makes it on the people to like get after it as much as possible because the more educated you are, the more you're going to be able to spot the lies, and so it's on you, the individual, unfortunately, to uh, to provide what your government won't. That being said, we do also need to work on the government providing for all. So both things need to happen. I mean, I don't know. I mean, sounds like the Department of Ed. Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, the Department of Education appears to be a big waste. Not to say it doesn't do some good things, but um, I hope. I mean, I hope it forces people to to buckle down and educate themselves. But you know, it's hard to say. I think all these political parties are just a huge distraction, um, and hmm we just haven't been acting it out. It just hasn't been acted out. Oh, 100%. There is no America without. hmm Yeah, it's hard to say. Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent, you and I have both been propagandized. Um, yeah, our whole lives. You know, I don't know. I 100% believe in the ideals though, and I mean, I think the goal is to try and strive and embody that to the best of our ability. Um, it's a promise to be lived up to. Now, whether that was intended or not, hopefully it was. Maybe by some it was, maybe by some it wasn't. You know, I don't know. Right? You know, I hope they were, and if they weren't, like, okay, yeah, then we have to adjust some things. Oh yeah, you're sacrificing what is predictably safe for something that is unknown. Yeah, for sure. Sure, and it's like that's a fear that's fair enough, but at the same time, like, look, it all things worth doing takes sacrifice, and if changing these things means a little bit of like 8 years of tough times, but and that was just a number I made up, you know, 8 years of tough times, but it means, 40 years of prosperity for all, or, whatever it is, like, I don't know, you, it's the people who have are going to have to sacrifice. Hmm. Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hmm. Yeah. 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 Well, it has to be some real talk. Oh, totally. Well, I mean, you got to remember, dude. I 100% remember the day that our upstairs neighbor tried to fight you. um, yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Well, what took us a second was um, the dude who had wronged him, our neighbor. His name, I'm pretty sure it was Pat. Um, had also conned Eli and I out of $100. Um, and So I was pissed at the guy that he was pissed at. And so when he came down, I remember you were like telling the story, and I was like, oh well, we had the guy who came over actually bought weed off of Eli and I and paid us with a fake $100 bill, and we didn't know it until after, and which was totally true. But you were like, okay, like I'm not that guy. And I was like, oh right, yeah, I know. I was like, I was like, you caught me. That's true. I was like, I'm sorry. That dude is a drunk asshole, and he is probably racist. You're right. But I remember, right, right. No, 100%. It was just the same dude who ripped Eli and off, ripped off that guy, and then you came over, and you were just a black dude with dreads, and he thought that you were him. Yeah. Yep. He still tried to fight you. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Also, like, excuse me, but my bros are down here. Right. I've never seen you. Something. in the house, right? Right. Well, what are you doing here? Yeah, that was crazy. Seriously. Oh, you were hot coming in, I remember. Oh, like, well, right. Yeah. Yeah, bro. Right. Oh, that's terrible. Well, and well, that's a great point, and also like, and pull a knife. But that's like, a tough. I don't tough, but like that's a weird one of the weird experiences about like being a white dude is that like someone who you know, and I didn't know our neighbor super well, like someone who you know and talk to, all of a sudden like will treat someone else differently, but you've never been around someone of a different race with that person. So you're like, oh yeah, this person's cool, this person's regular. You don't know. Yeah, and so like, when you're coming down and telling Eli and I, we're like, oh, at first we're thinking like, oh, well, our neighbor, he's been nothing but this to me and da da da, and then you just gotta realize it's like, oh dang, he was only those ways to me because we're the same race. Yeah, yeah, and that sucks. That's wild. Yeah, it's like, am I a pet that you love? Like, what is this? That's wild. That's so depressing to hear that from a friend. Mm-hmm. Right. Sure. Right. He's wrong. Right. 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 Yeah. Well, he's clearly never been the only white guy in the room. Yeah. Oh, I've had it happen before, and yeah, dude, you're like, oh shit, I'm riding solo right now. Even though, even though everyone could be totally cool, you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Mhm. Right, right, yeah. Mm, mhm. Um, yeah, what is this? Right. Mhm. Oh, I'm sure. Mhm. Mm, mm. Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, gotcha. They just took it was like the average race was taken with the group of 12-year-olds versus a solo black man walking into a room. Yeah, I follow. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Mhm. 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 Right, right, right. Mhm. Right. Uh-huh. Right. Well, I mean, as you should, but I see the point that he's making. It's actually kind of a bummer on your brother's behalf that um, he's been programmed to not. Okay. Sure. Hmm. Right. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. I'm a consumer. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's a good point. Yeah. I mean, hopefully, I mean, the goal is, uh, I guess, would be for in the ideal world, if your brother were to make that sort of comment, um, instead of, oh, you think you're white, it's like, oh, you think you're someone who's worth being treated respectfully. Like, right, right, exactly, exactly. And so that's kind of what I meant by, like, it's sad that he had to say that, because, like, how dare you expect to be treated well, and it's a bummer that he expects the opposite. Uh, yeah. For sure, for sure, I agree. Right, for sure. Yes, yes, exactly. Well said. It's a horrible truth. Um, one that, gotcha. Yeah, sure. Right. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Right. And you don't know it at the start. Hey, I'll give you a cheap rent. Mhm. Mhm. Mm. Uh-huh. Sure. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Same with Fresh Prince. No clue. I just remember the theme song. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, Fresh Prince. I mean, and that's yeah. And they were like wealthy. Right. Yep. Right. Right. Oh yeah. I mean, that's what made Nick at Night so cool. All right, man. I think I gotta wrap this up though. About time to put the kiddo to bed. It's about 7 p.m. over here. Yeah, that's for sure. Bro, I appreciate the trust in the conversation. That's hilarious. It's a good conversation. Yeah, what do you want me to be? That's hilarious. Bro, yeah, man. Dude, no, that I mean that's what's so fun. I mean, recording or not, bro. That's why we were friends and that's why we reconnected, man. Um, it's just good conversation and good times and I appreciate the trust and the honesty and all that, man. Right. Right. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Awesome, bro. My pleasure. Nah, man. I mean, like you said, we got to have these conversations, and I mean, in general, I'm like we're on the same page. uh, yeah, right. Yeah, you can't run away from it. Can't run away. No. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. We otherwise we all will reap the negative consequences. Hmm. Hmm. Right. Right. Yeah, and not being fully honest. So, cheers to honesty. Me too. Yeah, brother. Swag. Yeah, bro, just let me know. I'll make it happen. I'll make it a priority. You just let me know dates and we'll make it work. Sick. Okay. Sweet. Sweet. Yeah, man. We'll make time. Yeah. Oh, she's precious, dude. You'll love her. Yeah, you'll be great. Beautiful. I love that. Yeah, man. That's exciting. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And Tay will be hella pregnant 'cause we got another one coming in September. So, yeah, bro. Yep. Yep. Yeah, bro. It's special. Cool. Will do. Will do, man. I think about it all the time. Oh yeah. Yes. Say the word. Say the word. I'll prep my liver and everything. We'll be good to go. But then at least we would know. Hmm. Yeah. I can't hear anything. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Seriously. Perfect. Awesome. Yes. Super down. Just send me a text and we'll make it happen. Love you too, man. Peace. Will do.